This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. It was a nightmare.
Flight 807, you're clear for landing. Runway 7, Bravo.
All personnel report to the nearest tornado shelter. This is not a drill.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made in this week. Now, as usual, I give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made in first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made in, folks. So let's waste no time. Oh, yeah. Let's get to it. Story number 1. WRTA is pivoting from the worn routes. The question is why. The Western Reserve Transit Authority announced that it would end its worn routes September 8th. Now, this is after an ODOT grant expired and the state did not renew funds needed to maintain the service, according to WRTA. Now, what got the story in is the fact that WRTA's ridership was increasing. Ridership jumped almost 21,000 in 2022. Now, the 28 Warren Express will continue on according to the report. Now riders will have to pivot, and this remains the number one concern in this trending report. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2. Does Trumbull County need an administrator and budget director? Trumbull County Commissioner Nikki Frenchco remains in top headlines according to multiple reports published August 28th. Now, she feels that the county should hire an administrator and a budget director. Now, according to one report in the Mediator, she feels that a county administrator would save money by preventing waste related to errors due to lack of supervision and policy compliance and proper planning that has contributed to costly litigation and corrective actions. That's the quote that was in the report. A lot of words in there, but that's what she said. Now, Commissioners Denny Malloy and Mauro Cantalamessa disagree. So that's what the story says. Now it appears that Frenchco could be acting off of what she is seeing in other counties. That was also a mission report. Now, the additional cost would be around $300,000 in the budget. Now, Frenchco has continued to stay in the news and heated feuds with other officials in Trumbull County, in her department, and all over the place. The story is still developing. So story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3. Someone threw a firebomb on the city's north side. A Ward Street home on the city's north side was hit with a firebomb. A report published on August 19th by the Mediator says that police responded to a call at 4:30 a.m. This story made it in because reports like these continue to give Youngstown a bad reputation, making people afraid to live and do business in the city. Youngstown is still in the fight to improve such matters. So story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4. Is it wise to overspend to fight crime? Violence in the city is not only a problem, but it is costing the city a lot of money that could be spent to rebuild neighborhoods. Now, yes, criminals are expensive to manage, according to a report published August 26. Now, the report says that City Council has agreed to use $40,000 in American Rescue Plan funds to buy 2 specialized drones for the city's police department and authorized an $89,004 contract for the head of its community initiative to reduce violence program. So they're spending some money. Now, folks, I have to say this. Criminals are not only costing cities money, but they're costing local retail stores and businesses money also, because some of them are stealing and other things that are going on in the stores. Now, surveillance, security, and other expenses continue to hinder local communities from reaching their fullest potential. This includes the conditioning of of a culture centered around criminal behavior. Now, this story highlights budget money that is wasted just to suppress criminal enterprises, just to try to keep them under control. Now, the story goes on to mention other costs associated with the fight to combat violence in the city and all other places. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Is it wise to overspend on fighting crime? That's a big question. Story number 5. Youngstown records 2 homicides in 2 days. After news about a decline in violence, Youngstown is back in the news after recording 2 homicides in 2 days, putting the pressure back on Police Chief Carl Davis. Now, this marks the 10th killing of the year in Youngstown. One person was killed on the city's east side and the other on the city's north side. Now, last year, Youngstown had 23 homicides. The city brought in more law enforcement to help crack down on violence. That's what's keeping the story trending. The story is still developing. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6. Checking in on East Palestine. It's been 7 months since the derailment in East Palestine. The talk now is about federal disaster aid. And this federal disaster aid would give East Palestine access to millions of dollars in federal aid money, in what one article says is desperately needed. Now, one Mediator report published August 28th states that Norfolk Southern has committed nearly $70 million to East Palestine. East Palestine, if your country. Now, going on further, to cite the article goes on further to cite some real issues that are not being addressed. The report states that some residents have experienced symptoms such as persistent nosebleeds, sore throats, rashes, and eye irritation, as well as digestive, respiratory, and neurological issues. Now, what can be done remains unclear about this whole situation. Now, some in the area have moved on, while many continue to address these issues. That's what's keeping the story alive. Story number 6 almost made to the top 2 this week. Big headline. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, I could have tried to be a football star. I could have tried to be a track star. I could have stayed active duty military. But somehow the forces of nature have given me the passion to be here. So that's what I'm here to give you, these top 2 local headlines and developing news stories. You should be cheering for me. I'm doing something righteous. I should be getting applause. But I'm still in the corner trying to make ends meet. Story number 7. The Youngstown teacher strike details. Here's some details. Negotiations continue between the YEA and the district. At the moment, students are attending school online. Now, in one report by the Vindicator published August 30th, House Bill 70, unilateral student learning, and teachers' working conditions were all mentioned in this report. Those are some complicated issues, folks. Now, the report also focuses on checks and balances. YEA spokesman Jim Coram points out some contract disputes requiring the Academic Distress Commission to sign off on any contractual terms between the district and the union. Now, apparently, the teachers want leverage. That's what the article goes on to say. And any language removed that could give them that leverage, that's what they want in this whole deal. They also focus on some other things, too. It's probably pay and just accountability in their departments. That's why story number 7 almost made it to the top this week. Big headline. Story number 8 and the top local headline and developing news story that made this week, folks. I believe that this is my duty. This is my responsibility. I'm showing courage. I'm showing enthusiasm to do something righteous with my time, and that sacrifice and give you the top 8 stories every week. Thank you for blessing. Story number 8. The second most affordable place to live in America. I have to make sure I get this right. And guess where it is? Mahoning Valley is the second most affordable place to live in America. They made the top. out of a lot of places. Now, according to a report published August 28th, Youngstown is the second cheapest place to live in the United States. That's big. The report goes on to say that all you need to live in Youngstown is about $10,933. The average income in the city is $31,020, according to a Vindicator report published August 28th. Now, the national average home cost is $383,883. Now, in Youngstown, it's $137,546. Now, the article concludes by stating that Youngstown was ranked number 60 on the Quality of Life Index. Folks, these are big numbers. The United States is big. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories, so don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. I'm here with my guests. We got the cast of The Pedagogue, the newest film we're about to release. We've got the premiere September 23rd, and I'm going to talk to them not only about the education system, but about some of their experiences on set, working on an educational project, and on top of that, their characters. And we'll also talk a little bit about the movie itself, what the movie is about. So we're going to show a quick clip of me and Olivia Lance and Keywan in action. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West, and the cast of The Pedagogue.
Aunt Tasha, she said that you can be dumb and still make a lot of money.
Don't be deceived, okay? Just get the work done. Get your work done. Graduate. You'll be successful. Don't be deceived. I told you that. Now hit the books.
Mom's not coming back, is she, Dad?
What test scores again?
Every teacher is in here day and night, and it's not our fault.
Uriah aced her random proficiency test because you helped her. She's the first student in this city's district to ace that test.
So did he pay?
No, who only paid that?
Apply the pressure.
Hey, get that mess out of here!
Titi, you picked this district, Titi. I'm going to Puerto Rico. Me voy a Puerto Rico, Titi. Cálmate. Calm down. ¿Cómo que me calme? How am I calm down? You had us come here, Titi. How can I protect myself? That's all I need for you to help me with. How do I protect myself?
Oh, they're not gonna hurt you.
If this is what I get for being a good student and acing a test, I'd rather have failed.
I never told you that being good would be easy.
Clear target, cannot miss.
Home for his little girl. Take me.
They're in danger.
I won't tell you how this is going to end, Lori, but my history professor once told me, in order to prevent a genocide, you first have to kill the dictator.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. Folks, we're headed into Labor Day, and the work has evolved. Hourly wages have evolved, positions on the workroom floor have evolved, and I'll never forget my first encounter with on the workroom floor with the supervisor. The purpose of the supervisor is to make sure people are doing work. And I had to learn this at an early age, because I had to understand that when you're on the clock, you're supposed to be working. And we had the supervisor, I never forget him, Mr. Henderson. I think I don't know if he hated me or what, but I ended up losing my position. I had to retire, but he would sit up there and he would watch. I'd be on my route. I used to deliver mail. He'd be driving up, watching out of his car, seeing if I was working. And I remember one day I wanted to please my customers, so I did my route another way. And Mr. Anderson went crazy, shouting at me. Might as well just grab me, start punching me in the face. And me being, I hated being hollered at, because I was trying to do my job. Who you hollering at me? It gets so bad when you're on the workroom floor, they take pictures of you on your day off. That's how bad work can get sometimes when they want you to work. And in America, they want you to work. And this is a country that's based on freedom, so people often slack off on the workroom floor. You know, talk about that. Then the supervisors come, gotta get to work. Gotta get to work. So I had to learn the hard way. And when I left and I resigned, I would retire. I just smiled and left. I didn't say nothing. But it taught me a valuable lesson in life, and that's when you have to motivate people to work. They're not going to like you. They're going to spit in your drink, call you names, try to shut you down. You're going to be hated. And that's the hardest part about work and being a supervisor. Because you can talk when they're not around, but you talk to them to their face. Sucker, you ain't going to do nothing to me. You may lose your job. Chronicles of Mediation. Supervisors. Work. Labor Day. Big headlines. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Why abandon the SNAP program when benefits are needed? Speaking of work, people are not working. Some people, they're not trying to make it, you got to work for SNAP benefits. Now, one report in The Hill tackles the new American hunger issue head on. The report says that American families need SNAP benefits more than ever. One key observation is mentioned in the report, and that is that the fact that long lines at food pantries decreased with SNAP benefits when they were increased. So the long lines at the food pantries decreased when SNAP benefits were increased. That's a big data. Now, this key stat proves that the program works, but how do you account for a program that gives out a lot but doesn't receive much in return? Especially when you need work, you need labor. The story is still developing. That's story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2. Story number 2. China's economic woes are making headlines. Folks, multiple headlines are in circulation showing signs that China is in an economic slowdown. Story number 2. Now, one report in Reuters has an analysis titled Chinese Investors Rush to Offshore Funds to Offset Domestic Risk, citing a weak stock market. Now, geopolitical risk and a falling currency is stated as some of the reasons. As the reason. Now, new data is coming in daily on what is causing the economic slowdown. Now, some analysts have reported job issues also, with college graduates having nowhere to turn for employment. The story is still developing. China may be seeing some of those similar things that America experiences when it comes to education. So, story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3. Is there a timetable on these interest rates issues that we've been having, especially the hikes? CNBC asked 3 experts this question and got 3 answers. Number 1, Preston Caldwell. He's a senior U.S. economist for Morningstar Research Services, LLC. And Caldwell says that he thinks rates will start cutting in early 2024. That's one review. Now, Elliot Eisenberg, the chief economist at Graphs and Labs, says the same thing. So they're projecting 2024. Now, Ali. This is number 3. All FOMC members, they believe that rates will be stable on higher through 2023 before slowing, coming down in 2024 and 2025. So they're saying that things will probably stable themselves out, see a little elevation, and then come back down in 2024, 2025. So everybody's projecting 2024, 2025. So at the moment, I guess the answer for this story is 2024, but only time will tell. We're seeing a lot happen in the foreign affairs thing. So let's just hope that these analysts are right. That's why story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4, the Department of Education saga. Folks, the Department the education problem, not just the department, but the education problem in America is so bad that Washington Examiner has a headline talking about how the GOP candidates want to eliminate the Department of Education, putting the entire department in the hot seat. Now, let me remind you that the cabinet level agency, which is the Department of Education, has 4,400 employees and a $90 billion proposed budget. This idea goes as far back as the Reagan administration, Ronald Reagan, in the 1980s. Now, the Department of Education is primarily responsible for providing grants to public school districts and aid to college students. Folks, this story is still developing. If you eliminate the Department of Education, wow, that would be who knows how that would turn out. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 4, so don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator. Me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, this week we're talking Labor Day because it's a holiday, and I have to mention how hard it's been to keep a business open for over 16 years. And now I'm not gonna lie, when you first start doing this, you want to give things to everybody, you want to make everything free, and you want to be loved. But after a while, you start realizing that some people, their way they think just can't be fixed. And you want to be nice to people, you want to be the kindest person on the block, but sometimes they will bring the evil out of you. Even some customers, they'll come in the store, lounging around, and you'll be sitting, oh, you gotta spend some money. Woo! You'll start tripping, and even on your people who working, they'll be sitting around talking, today's a good day to do, oh, you gotta work. Huh? And sometimes business owners, you gotta have split personalities, because even when you're around your family members, everybody's trying to, you want to be loved, you want to be the nice guy. But then again, you got to be a leader. You got to run a business. Everything's got to be accounted for. You got to spend money. Some people just think everything is free, everything free, but you get in business, you got to be accountable. That's the hardest part about being in business. And you learn about the media, you learn about free advertising, because that money, there's a chance it ain't coming back when you spend it. So if you see a business owner in the front parking lot smacking people just to get customers, because those slow days can be long. I mean, sometimes that's how you get the media to show up. Some business owners even set their buildings on fire. I'm not going to point no fingers, but that's what they do. Shoot, they can't pay the bills. Bill collectors coming in, attorneys sitting on the front lawn taking pictures, so they burn the place down. That's a fact. It's been happening. It's Labor Day. If you do anything, show some sympathy for small business, even non-profits. I get calls all the time. Bro, you got some money I can borrow? Oh, family ain't got no money. She ain't got no money. You got some money I can borrow? I ain't got no money. Who you gonna get the money from? The bank? Bank ain't got the money. Call up Joe or Trump. Trump on TV all the time. He got some money. Joe Biden got some money. He got it from Ukraine. Obama got a book deal. Call him up. He got the money. Business in America. Well, folks, let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Story number 5. The economic recovery is still in top headlines. Speaking of business, folks, U.S. auto sales, the value of the dollar, and layoffs are keeping economic news in top headlines. Now, at the moment, economic watchers are citing a slow economic recovery after the pandemic. Economists are homing in on what appears to be policy shift and Fed decisions as a key factor in the recovery. This story is still developing. So story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6. Soft target alert again. After a gunman shoots 3 people dead at a Dollar General in Jacksonville, Florida, justice officials are focused once again on America's soft target locations. I mean, how do you shoot some people at a Dollar General? That's pretty sad. Now, just around the 9/11 anniversary, terror still remains a nagging problem in America. Chaos seekers are using every tactic possible. They're targeting ethnic groups, schools, and even religious organizations. Every wild gun situation slips Well, every time this happened, every time that a gun situation slips its way into the news, something happens with gun policies. The gun policies become even tighter, making it harder for even law-abiding citizens to even try to follow the law and follow the rules. Now, the suspect willingly had a hatred for African Americans, according to multiple reports. Folks, this story is still developing. That's why story number 6 almost made it to the top 2 this week. Story number 7 and the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Step right up. I'm giving you raw, uncut stories just to keep you informed. Story number 7. Do we blame the tech boom for today's current work ethic? Folks, radio stations used to be filled with people. You go to the stations, a lot of people working. Buildings used to be filled with tenants. I mean, everybody's doing business, accountants, everybody. Now some people are working from home because of computers. Human hands were on just about everything before computers started taking over the world. Now the car detail shop has to compete with the computer-driven car washes. The band is also replaced with digital technology. The music. Computers have seeped into just about every aspect of our everyday lives, folks. So this Labor Day, the will to make life easier may have destroyed the will to work. That's a good way to look at it. The story is still developing. That's story number 7, also made to the top this week. Big headline. Story number 8 and the top international headline and developing news story that made this week. I even made a song for Labor Day. Headed into Labor Day, let's work, work, work. Labor Day, let's work. Ah. Went to go see a movie the other day. They were singing, I think it was a Little Mermaid. I get to stay for the whole thing. It was kind of odd watching it, but after they remade it into human form, it was kind of interesting. But they were singing some songs, and I just couldn't wait to sing my "Work, Let's Work on Labor Day." Story number 8. The job market update. Speaking of work, Farmers Insurance will lay off 2,400 workers across its entire organization, according to CNN Business. Now, this seems to be the case across many sectors of employment. Some areas are even using computer labor to account for what used to be employee labor. Now, there is still a need for multiple specialized work, including nurses and teachers. That's a though. So now overall, the job market is hot, depending on set locations and where you go. Now, a lot of workers are being moved around, and some are even being cut from the job and finding some other place to go. Freelancers are also getting a small piece of the pie in some areas, depending on how low or high they're willing to do the work for. Now, this story is staying alive because there is so many different work reports that at the time it's hard to state the obvious, especially when so many people are still on the sidelines. Now, one report in Investopedia says that immigrants are even playing a big role in filling gaps in the labor force. The most recent jobs update is showing a lot of progress. That's why story number 8 made it to the top this week. Well, folks, those are our top 8 and local international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out doing the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I am just a media, the man in the middle, navigating your story just to keep people informed. If you want to show us some support here at Method 8, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. Or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street in Boardman or Youngstown, Ohio, and see my smiling face and buy something in the store. Well, folks, I am out here. I'll be back next week looking through over 200 or more stories just to keep you informed. Thank you for tuning into the Mediator this week with me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.